Hey everybody, I wanted to show you probably the funnest necromancer builds I have played so far in this game, and it's actually all due to the malignant hearts and the way it's synergizing with the build itself. Let's hop into the gear real quick and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So first and foremost right here, when you have at least 4 enemies near you, you gotta gain an aura around you. It's a big giant circle that surrounds your character that basically anything that steps into it is cursed with Decrepify. That's insane. You don't even need Decrepify on your bar. You don't even need to technically spec into it, but if you want the cooldown reduction, you got to put the 3 points in to get the CDR. So that's what I did for that exact purpose, is I got the CDR from that, and it just makes everything insane. Now also look, I have the imprint on it for corpse tendrils. This will cast corpse tendrils even when it's on cooldown, which is absolutely friggin' nuts. So even if you've used it, and it doesn't even put it on cooldown if it uses it as well. So your cast is on its own special cooldown that is always had in the game. This has technically no cooldown. It says that it's supposed to cast it every 3 seconds, but what it looks like to me is that because I have corpse explosion and corpse tendrils on my bar, it cycles between the two. It's like one corpse explosion, then it'll try to cast a tendril, and then go for another explosion, then another tendril. This is how it looks like to me. I could be wrong, but it's casting them to the point where you will keep elites chain stunned from the corpse tendril, and it's absolutely disgusting. So you will throw down your bone prison, corpse tendril them into the bone prison, or you can corpse tendril them first and then bone prison second, whatever you choose. That's all up to you and how you feel like you want to play the build. And they will just keep getting corpse tendriled over and over and over again as long as you're close to them, and it's just going to keep them chain stunned until they reach the point where they become unstoppable, which by that time most of them should be dead before that even happens anyway, so it's not that big of a deal. This one I actually have in here. It's the resource draining effect one. This is resource draining effects. This isn't you using resources. This is mobs having the resource draining effect on them. So I'm actually going to be changing this one out, but I just have it here for now. Yeah, I'll probably be changing this one out very, very soon. So just look for a better purple one than this. Or you could actually stack other colors. You don't actually have to have a purple at all if that's what you choose. And the other big boy is walking near a corpse. This is the one that casts the corpse tendrils. So up here we have the corpse tendrils on the amulet. This one casts it in corpse explosion constantly. This is the orange malignant heart. In friggin' insane. Now there is the wrathful one. I was trying to play around with that, but it keeps you constantly out of essence, so you need to play a build specifically that does not use essence. And what I was actually ended up doing was I was playing a build where I was using bone prison with the spawns a pool of blight, which is what I have on this spring here. So I was using bone prison spawning the pool of blight, and into that I was having bone storm and then just spamming corpse explosion, which it was technically working. However, if you had too much stuff on cooldown, you just literally couldn't do anything except for run away until your cooldowns came back. So it didn't feel that good, so I ended up nixing that gem. It's in my stash. If I can come up with a better build later on that can use it, maybe I'm probably gonna try the Infinimus build with it, because you don't really need to be using a bunch of essence for that build. So I'll probably try it with that. Back to this one. So yes, it's going to blow up corpses every second. Actually, it feels like it's faster than a second. It feels like it's somewhere around like 0.75 to 0.8 seconds is where it actually does the use of a corpse. So I think it's a little faster than a second. Obviously on here I have Shadow Blight stacking damage, so it's going to stack up to, because this is just the one from the Codex of Power. So this is one I could imprint over and over and over and over again. Obviously I can find a better one to imprint on later, but while leveling, I don't feel it's needed to try and put on a good, like, top tier aspect roll whenever you're going to be replacing it very, very soon anyways. With this build I was also able to clear the capstone dungeon at level 61. I think I just dinged 61 before going in and doing it. And yeah, it worked out perfectly fine. There was a few deaths, I'm not gonna lie, but did end up getting him down, and at level 61 wasn't too big of a deal. The only time I actually died was on the boss, so it wasn't too bad. And I also have the other Shadow Blight one here. This one, obviously, it was a junky roll anyways off of another weapon, so I just threw it onto this one, so it'd be slightly above the 100 damage instead of the 156 is what I have on here. So I threw that on here as well. And as you can see, I am playing with minions, so we have Blight AoE gripping, so if I shoot Blight at something, it's going to pull them in. Plus, the Blight pool that spawns from your bone prison also grips, because all it is it's a Blight effect, so it's going to grip them in because of this aspect, which is really cool. So you're actually going to have 3 grips. You're going to have corpse tendrils, you're going to have Blight, and you're going to have bone prison with the Blight effect because of this ring. So all of it is kind of just keeping all the mobs tightly grouped up so that you can just AoE them down super easy. Here we have damaging an elite gives me a 3000 barrier, which is really nice. It is really nice. Also, I have the fortify on the build, which you'll see later on, and that fortify plus barrier makes you very tanky. Now this is specifically for world tier 3. I am able to go to world tier 4, except the mobs are 10 to 15 levels higher than me, so it doesn't actually make sense because it's going to be slower leveling because of the amount of time it's going to take to kill them. Also, they're going to smack me a lot harder, so realistically it's better to just do nightmare dungeons closer to my level. The one I'm in right now is a, where am I, tier 6. Tiers, I would say probably about like tier 6 to tier 9 is probably the range that I should be doing for this. All right, and we got increase warriors by 2 and increase mages by 2, giving us our 11 minions, right? So, on to the skill tree. So I put Decrapify on here. If I'm playing with Blight, I always like to have Decrapify. I know a lot of people like Reap, and it is good because it gives you that one free corpse on the first like hit of it, which is really nice. However, Reap isn't as good as Acolyte's Decompose, just for the purpose of giving your minions 10% damage. Now, the thing is, they capped, because of how crazy the Blighted Corpse Explosion used to be, they capped how many you can have on the ground. So as you keep popping them, the old ones will start to disappear. And that became a problem because you used to be able to basically stack up infinite shadow dot damage with the Blighted Corpse Explosion, but whenever they toned that back, because Corpse Explosion was literally turning the entire screen black, and people were complaining they couldn't see any effect, which rightfully so. I mean, it even killed a bunch of necromancers because you couldn't see the effects as well. So, because they capped this at having 5 on the ground, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure it is 5. I decided, okay, well, once I have 5 of those on the ground and I empty my entire bar of Blight, which so you see I only put 1 point in, the rest I will use Ray Skeleton to buff the minions, and then I'm going to decompose for probably about 3 seconds or so, and then start popping more corpse explosions to refresh them because they only last for 6 seconds on the ground. So there we go. For that, we grab Blight into Supernatural Blight, so you and your minions deal 15% increased damage. Hued Flash, so we can get, obviously, the corpses generated. I have 1 point, if you notice it's not on my bar, but I have 1 point in Blood Mist, specifically because if I have a boss that I'm having trouble with, or anything like that, I can have the Blood Mist as an escape. But generally you don't actually need it, because you're going to get your barriers whenever you're fighting elites, plus you're going to have Fortify from Necrotic Carapace. So not too much needed, but I have it there as just in case. I mean, if I don't want it there, I would take it out and I'd put it right back here and get fueled by death. You're constantly generating essence really fast, so Grim Harvest, you don't need the full 3 points in, but that is a choice. You can take them out of literally anywhere else to put them there if you choose. 3 points into Skeletal Warrior Mastery, because we need them to be alive and not dead and do a bit more damage. Corpse Explosion into Blighted Corpse Explosion, because we want those puddles on the ground, creating more shadow damage so that we can proc more Shadow Blights. Bone Prison into Ghastly Bone Prison to make them vulnerable. So you're going to have vulnerability from here, and you're going to have vulnerability from Corpse Tendril as well. So it's all going to basically keep them pretty much perma-vulnerable. 2 or 3 points into Grim Harvest, you can pull them out of somewhere else. I would probably pull it out of... I'd probably pull it out of Dust Defense if I had to. But I'm perfectly fine with just the 2 points. 3 points into Fueled by Death if you don't want your Blood Mist. Death's Embrace, because I'm pulling them on top of me. And that's the thing, because I'm getting barrier and because I'm constantly getting fortified, I feel perfectly fine pulling the mobs on top of me. Plus they're staying chain stunned. That's the biggest thing. Because of that Malignant Heart, the mobs are chain stunned the entire time. So because they are chain stunned, you can pull them on top of you and do 9% more damage, 12% more damage from 3 points into Curse, Decrepify into Abhorrent Decrepify for the cooldown reduction, because if you're pulling everybody on top of you, you're going to have the Decrepify aura from the other Malignant Heart as well. And whenever I can get that one where it's just 2 instead of 4, it's going to be so much better. 3 points into Mage Mastery so they can do 60% more damage and actually survive a couple hits. Corpse Tendrils into Plague Corpse Tendril for the vulnerability. 3 points in Necrotic Carapace so that you can get the Fortify. Fortify, by the way, is a 10% damage reduction. Just across the board, 10% damage reduction. So once you hit Fortified, you're just super tanky. 3 points in Terror, 3 points in Gloom, 1 in Reaper's Pursuit, and I put 1 into Crippling Darkness, which I don't generally do. You could probably take 1 out of Crippling Darkness if you wanted to back up here and grab Harvest, because Crippling Darkness has a very low proc chance, unless they fixed it without me knowing about it. But I figure extra chance of stun, might as well just stack that on top of this. Although, if this actually make them go unstoppable faster. Maybe I shouldn't have this in here. Well, I'm still going to play with it because I've been playing with it and it's been working for me. But I may, in the future, actually put this back into Grim Harvest. Just because if they are going unstoppable faster because of this node, that would actually be very inconvenient because I wouldn't be able to keep them chain CC'd as long as I am. As you can see, I have no ultimate at all. Don't need it. You don't need it. You don't have the bar space for it anyways. So 3 points in an Inspiring Leader so you can get the attack speed. 2 points into Bonded Essence, which is going to get you every time you pop the Raise Skeleton and raise up the Priest. It does the 10%. Now it's going to do an additional 40%. So 50% heal after 5 seconds. And then you got Death's Defense, so they only take 30% of their health per hit. And finally, Shadow Blight. Now, in the Paragon, I haven't gone far. And this is not normally the board I would take first. Normally, I would take the Wither board first. But because of that Malignant Heart and it's constantly exploding corpses, you're sitting on a constant 40% damage. It's insane. Anyways, so you go up the right side here, grab... I put in Control. I figured this is probably going to be one of the best ones. Also, is the very first glyph that dropped for me, so I've started leveling it up anyways. As you can see here, 20% increased damage to stunned or frozen targets. They're chain stunned. Every time they get Corpse Tendril, they're stunned for 3 seconds. And then they get Corpse Tendril again, and they're stunned for another 3 seconds. So you're constantly doing a 20% increased damage, plus 47.5% increased damage to crowd-controlled enemies. This glyph is actually only 11 right now. So once this hits 15, obviously the board's going to open up even more. As this goes up in level, it's going up higher and higher and higher of damage to crowd-controlled enemies. So your damage is really scaling super good off of this glyph. I went up the left side here so I can get the 5% damage and then work my way up. Went for the Flesh Eater board because we are going for consuming 5 corpses will give us the 40% damage increase, which is nutty. And currently I'm going for the Glyph Socket, and I'm not sure which one I'm going to put in yet. I haven't really gotten that far, so I will make that determination when I get there. And I will actually make a build tree on... I have the little Mobalytics app on my computer. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. I just like the interface and the UI that they have, and that everything kind of just stays in your profile, so you can actually have all that stuff in there, and it will just make finding a person's builds easier. So you can just go to their profile and it just lists all their builds. So I just like to keep them in there. It also helps keep me organized, so I'm not having to go to a bunch of different like D4 builds or D4 planner links and finding my old things and trying to modify them there. I can just pull it up on a desktop app and just start clicking. It makes it a lot easier for me. So that is the reason why I use it. Book of the Dead, Reapers, number 2, so you can get more corpses. We're using the shadow mages where they fire an additional shadow every 4th bolt. I used to like this one, but again, too many stuns equals the mobs no longer being able to be CC'd, which is terrible. So I went with this one also because they buffed it so that shadow mages can now actually trigger shadow blight. So them firing an additional shadow bolt will mean that more shadow blights are triggered, which will vastly increase your damage. Now what you're going to want to be looking for stats, you're going to want, now damage over time itself does not crit. However, shadow blight crits, your minions themselves can crit, and whenever I get the Ring of Mandeln, which is what I'm planning to put right here, well, I'm going to change one of these out. I'm probably going to swap to a one-hander, specifically because one-hander, and I can put the Bone Prison onto the offhand, and then I can have the Ring of Mandeln in here, and then you want as much crit as possible because your crit chance and crit damage affects the ring specifically. So that's currently what I'm farming for. I do have the Hell from Below gloves, which does help a lot. Other than that, that is pretty much where I'm at. Super fun. I would say give it a go and have a blast with this one, because this is probably the funnest build I've played. And I play, if you look into my channel, I play a lot of different builds and I try a lot of different things because I don't want to just play Bone Spear, Bone Spear, Bone Spear, Bone Spear. It's fun. It does a lot of damage and it melts the end game. It melts bosses. But to me, I really like dot damage and I like minions. The whole point of me playing a necromancer was to have minions, and a lot of the end game builds don't have minions. So my whole point of season 1 is to make minion necromancer meta. I am going to take minions to the end game. I'm going to show them Lilith. I'm going to show them the new boss. I don't know what his name is. Varshan? Yeah, that guy. I'm gonna show that. I'm gonna bring the minions to all of that and be like, here's the bosses, you're gonna go kill them. So keep an eye out for all the future videos, because we're gonna take minions all the way through. We're gonna play a bunch of different minion builds. We're gonna try, there's a really cool build I was looking into, is probably like an FUNNEST minion build. So that one also looks like it could potentially work out. I'm going to have to gather up the aspects and see if I can get them to work well together, but I'll also keep you updated whenever I make that as well. So thank you all for watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, anything you want down below. What's your favorite breed of dog? That's a good one to comment. Tell me what your favorite breed of dog is. That way I'll know you made it to the end of the video. All right, have a nice day.